All right, in this lesson, we're going to do a simple loop. But in the loop, I also want to use a random number, just so we don't forget how to use random integers. So we're going to start out with, import random. All right, so we'll have somebody enter a number and then just add it to a random integer. Okay, so since we've got an input, we need a variable, and I'll just call it num equals, we'll have use an integer. We won't use a floating number, so we're going to use an integer. It's going to be an input. And we'll just say enter an integer. And let's say enter 0 to end. And we'll go ahead and put the number on the next line. So put the backslash in so it'll skip down a line. All right, now the way that we use a loop is we're going to use the while statement. So while something is true or false, we'll continue running the program. So I'm going to just say while num does not equal 0. Whoops. All right. So the exclamation point equal means does not equal 0. And then just like the if and elif statements, we put a semicolon there, so it's going to indent. So everything that's indented under this while statement, under this loop, is part of that loop. All right, so I want to use a random number, so I'm just going to use ran for the random number. And so we'll have random dot ran integer, and then I'm going to give it some parameters. So we'll say we want the integer to be between 1 and 20. Okay, now we want to add these numbers together. So I use the variable sum, so we've got a place to store it. So we've got the sum num plus ran. All right, I'm going to go ahead. I want to check what I've done so far, so I'm just going to say print sum. So I've run it. Let's say I put in a 6. Right? So now it just keeps going because I'm not asking for another input, and I didn't specify how many times it should go. All right, so I'll stop that. I want to take that parentheses out. We don't really need that. Okay. So that works. So now let's put a statement in here. So we'll say print. Whoops. Say the sum of. Okay, we're going to do the sum of the number plus the random integer. We need to change it into a string. So the sum of num we'll put a space and then a space, and that way it just gives us a space between the number and the word. say plus, then I'm going to convert the random integer to a string. I'll say plus, we can do quotation marks, a space is space. And then I want the sum to be a string. All right, so let's see what happens when we run that. Okay. Again, it's going to keep running because I didn't give this specific count and we don't have another input. All right, so it stays inside this loop. It's not going to go back up here and ask the question again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy my question. And paste it down here. Now I want a backspace, so when somebody puts in 0, it's going to exit the loop. And then we'll just say goodbye. Let's run this. So let's say we enter 9. The sum of 9 and 13 is 22. Enter an integer, enter 0 to n, so let's say we enter 2,596. 2,596 plus 16 is 2,612. Then if I put in 0, it says goodbye. And that's really all there is to a simple loop.